All right, time for another one. And we've got a live one here. This one's pretty challenging. So I'm trying to figure out how to install these letters onto a steel structure that's curved here. So as I'm trying to figure out how to build this, I start to realize that this is going to take probably some macro action that I don't have yet. And after pondering a little bit, I think that I'll be able to cook up something on the fly here that will help me to lay these out. So let me just show you what we got going on. So we've got ourselves looking down from the top here. We have this green structure here is the layout of the steel. This is a big steel structure. It's almost, 20 feet long, whatever. And it's going to be basically a set of channel letters. If you're looking at it from the front, it's going to be LED lit acrylic letters that say this, and they are going to be mounted to individual backers. You can see where I got like this one orange here. That's going to be a piece of 090 aluminum, and then the acrylic letters are going to mount to that backer. And I have like a side view here. So here's your cute acrylic letter. This is the steel structure. And then it's going to have this J kind of support of routed 1/4-inch aluminum. That is going to slide into a raceway that's going to be bolted to the backside of the structure. And that whole thing is going to then hang down. And then this little support guy here is going to run the power and everything to the letter. And so this thing needs to be mounted into the raceway. And then the raceway is going to get attached to the back of the steel. So looking at it from the top, this purple here, that's our raceway, and it's going to get attached to the back of the steel. So you see here, these are our letters kind of laid out with the kerning. Good job, JR. You got the kerning all right. So let's say this right here is the word caliente. That right there is going to be this backer, and it's going to have these struts for support that hang down. So the problem is this particular section is this section. Now I have this curve, but I can't do anything with it because it's on a curve. And in Corel, I can only work with rectangles unless I try to hand turn things. But I need to get each individual slot laid out so that way this bracket can slide up inside the slot. I need to get these laid out right where these brackets are here. These translate down to the back of the backer here. This is the backer laid out here. And so this is going to get welded. This little guy here is this bracket right here. That's going to get welded there. And then it's got to hit this particular slot. But as you can see, I have this laid out. This right here represents the length of this front box. That's this section right here. I have my macros that allow me to find all that out. So I have them right here. And so if I hit my curves machine here, then it tells me that this is 62 point, and I have it round up to 5 numbers. So 5 decimals. So I know that this is 62 on the length. Now, obviously it says 61 up here because that's just the X and the Y. That's why you can't really work with curves very well in Corel unless you get your macros out and start doing curve lengths. So I went ahead and extrapolated the 62 out to a flat 62. So this is if you take this and flatten it, that's this piece. And then I extrapolated that out to where this section starts and finishes there. So this represents this part right here, flattened out right across here. Then I'm going to go ahead and lay these little posts out, these little jiggies right here. But I need to get the slots laid out from being perpendicular 90, which does me no good, to wrapped curved. So that way they can intersect this structure and a curve. So I need to basically be able to put a node. So in order to do this, I need to be able to see this distance here, 5 inches, 9.9, see these really crazy numbers. And again, I'm rounding to 5 decimals. Corel works natively up to 12. So the accuracy is going to be okay, but it's going to be good enough. because what we're going to be dealing with is estimations, because it's doing trig and pre-calc, whatever it's doing to get this. It's extrapolating this out on a vector. Hey, Mr. Walker. You remember Mr. Walker. So so it's basically going to round it to 5, but I need to be able to put a node at 5.14612 exactly on the face of this cabinet. So here's this node here. I need to add a node here. I need to add a node here. I need to add a node, but each node needs to be exactly where it says that these dog bones need to go. So I need to write so I'm going to write a macro that's going to allow me to take this distance X and have it figure out where to put on a curve exactly where that node needs to go. Then I can then match out and extrapolate out on the curve where I can put my slot. And that will then match up with each of these struts, and then each of the struts can be welded directly. So the guys will take that, put it through the roller, they'll put a gentle curve on it, and then, Bob's your uncle. It's going to be all, welded up. It's good to go. So let's get on that. Real quick though, just so we know what we're talking about. When you're going to do this and you're working with nodes, so when you're working with nodes, thank you for your service, we don't need you. You have a beginning node here, which is the arrow, and then you have the second, third, and fourth nodes, and then you have segments. So what we're going to be doing is having to measure a segment and then take the math of what 5 inches, or let me grab this so we don't have to go back and forth. So I'm going to take this, I'll put it over here. So if I need this to be 5.14 whatever, we need to first measure this segment length, and then, let me grab this too. There you go, so this is what we're working with. So we need to take this segment length and then figure out what 5.14 inches is over this whole segment and do the percentage. Then we're going to do a percentage, because this is how Corel works. So when you take this node, this is node 1 and this is node 2. And when you have 2 nodes, then you do get a segment, and then this is segment 1. So it's node 1, node 2, and then you go back 1 to segment 1. This is node 3, this is node 2, that's segment 2, and so on. So this is node 4, this is node 3 over here, this will be segment 3, and this is segment 4. Okay, so the way Corel works is it takes the first node and assigns that a value of 0. Then it takes the second node on the segment, doesn't matter how long it is, because again, it doesn't care about length, it works on a percentage. So it says node 1 is 0, and node 2 is a value of 1, or basically 100. Then from there on, it assigns a percentage value anywhere along here. So that is how we'll know where to put 5.1 blah, 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 is we just need to do the math, because computers are good at math. We're just going to take the distance of this segment from 2 to 1 and then do a percentage and drop it. And then from there, though, here's the problem. Once we add a node, then we have 2 segments. And now this thing no longer has 4 segments. It has 5 segments. And so then you have to adjust your fire. And when you add another node like this, now there's 6 segments, and it's going to get confusing. So every time I'm going to put a node at each of these measurements, the segments are going to change. Now you can see where Corel defaults to 50%. So when you add a node on a segment anywhere, it defaults to 0.5. And you can see where it just did the math, and it's half and half. When you go like this, it defaults to half. So what we're going to do in code is going to go under the hood, and we're going to change that to a variable that will do the math and then put drop in the percentage and make it happen. So let's get after it. So what you're going to do is bring up your IDE, and the IDE is going to be your launch pad, whatever you want to do. So what we're going to do is going to create a new user form. So you go up here to the top, pull down user form, boom. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of lay this out the way I want to. I'm not going to make it too small, but I'm not going to make it too big. So first and foremost, we need a text box. So you get your little toolbox here. If you don't have it, it's up here. It says toolbox. So you want a text box. So you just select that and then drag and drop. So we're only going to be 5 digits on this. So we're going to do that. And then I'm also going to want a text box for the segment number because we're going to have to iterate through those segments. So I'm going to put a segment number here. And then I'm going to want a control command button right here. See this command button? This is going to basically make it go, right? So when I push this, it's going to make a node. When I push this, it's going to make a node. Now I also want to make a label for myself, and we're going to put that up top. And we're going to make that over here opaque. We're going to make that transparent. And we're going to name it label 1, caption right here. And we're going to call this segment. Okay, and then let's go ahead and center that. Text left, let's do text center. Text left's fine. Okay. Looking good. And then what I like to do is make sure that these are all a good height. So height is 30, don't like it. I want 24. And I want this height to be 24. You just change the height. And I like to keep my numbers all within a variable. So my variable is 8. You know who you are. And so the width would be 8. That's fine. And the width of this is 72. That's good. And the width of this is 120. We're good. So this is going to be the value. And then what I want to do is change this to, let's do a bold 10. And then we're going to do a segment. Now the segment will have to be filled all the time. So I'm going to add a value right now of 1 just to make sure that there is a value. Okay, and now this is looking anemic in this box here. So this one I'm going to put center. And we're going to go over here and do a Tahoma. And we're going to hit that with a 10. I like that right there. You know what? Let's do a 12. There we go. Okay, and then this guy here. And then what I want to do, because I'm in open warfare on my keyboard, and typing is gross, it's for animals. I'm going to go ahead and rob what I have on a lot of my other stuff. So this is what's pretty cool, is once you have a lot of macros, you can start borrowing quickly, and it helps you set this stuff up quickly. So because I'm going to be grabbing the X dimension, see like this right here is 9.0, you know, I'm going to be grabbing X dimensions of these. I want to be able to just grab that without typing. I don't want to have to sit there and type this like an animal. So on my other macros, I have this already loaded up. Like see this X and this Y right here. If I hit this, it will load the X and Y dimensions for me. So you can see it grabbed this 5.269 and it put it in this text box. So I'm just going to go over to Launchpad here, and I'm going to rob this and just, you know, add it to my new thing so I don't have to type. So again, I'm just going to go back to my IDE, right? And I'm going to go up to Launchpad, which turned out to be PL for some reason. And I'm just going to copy and paste. Now, when you copy and paste the buttons, it does not bring code in. So we want to just get the buttons in place, but we have to code them. So you need to go back in and also rob the code. So we'll go ahead and put these next to each other like that. I like that. And again, you can do what you want. You know, this happy little tree lives right here. Now these are looking a little smaller than that. So let's make these the same size. So let's hit this up with a 24. So you can hit the height. Where's our height? Right there, 17. Yeah, that's weird. We're going to hit a 24 and we're going to hit a width of a 24. There you go. And then they're going to overlap each other, so we don't want that. So we're going to move this guy here. And we're just going to tuck it up against. Bonk. There you go. Now you can hit save. Boom. Now you see where it says Userform 39? Let's give it a cool name. So if you click this, you go up to the caption of what it's called, Userform 39. I'm going to call it, let's call it on point, because we're going to be putting them on point. And so this is on point, right? That's fun. And then I'm going to go ahead and change Userform 39 to the same thing, but I'm going to use camel case because I'm a weirdo. There we go. And so now, instead of being Userform 39 down here, lost with all these user forms that I have, it's going to live up here in the O's. So I got on screen, I got open curves, and now it's on point. Okay, so it's just that easy setting it up. Let's give the command button a cool color. We'll go to palette. I like that green because it's sort of like go. And then let's give it a cool name. So I'm going over to caption, and we'll just hit make node. Let's hit it with some bold. A little bigger too, right? Just get it shouty. There you go. Cool. There you go. So now all that's left is to, let's code it up. So first we need to do is go rob these two. We need to get the code for this and rob it. So let's go back to PL, and we're just going to copy paste the code we find inside. So you go here, it says private sub command. We don't need the private sub part. We just need the error down to exit sub, copy, and paste. Now we got to remember this is for the X, right? Yep. So we're going to go back to on point, and then we're just going to paste, boom, just like that. Then we're going to go back up to PL. Where'd you go? There it is, down to PL, not up. And back to on point. So you got size height, which is Y, and you've got size width, which is X. Now, since we're copying, it's me.textbox2. That means this user form, but on point, this is textbox1. So we want textbox1. So now we just got to go in and change those two quick things. So it's not completely cut and paste. Oops. There you go. Text box 1. And we got to go here, and we got to go text box 1. There you go. Okay, so now this is set. Let's hit save. We can even hit debug, make sure we're compiling properly. Boom, you hit debug, you hit compile. As long as it compiles and grays out, good to go. So format number, we're good to go. Shape range. So now it's going to grab the selections, and that's how big it's going to be. We're set. So let's go back to what we need to do. So this will load up our sizes. It'll load up this, so we're good to go. So now we need to start doing math, and we have our segment, and we have make node. So now we're going to go under this box, or this guy here. So what do we want to do? So first thing, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, is we're going to need to iterate. Remember, we need to iterate through each of these. So we're going to start with a segment 1, but then once we add a node, that number needs to change to segment 2. Then it needs to change to segment 3. Then it needs to change to segment 4. So what we're going to do is iterate. We're going to be advancing by 1. Every time we push that button, it's going to advance by 1. So let's do that. So we're just going to make a ticker that ticks up, that plumps while you cook it. So let's hit this up with a value. We'll just go, we'll probably want a long on this. So we'll go CCC, no, I don't want capital. We'll go CCC long equals me dot text. So we're going to grab the text box 2 value dot value, which we know always starts at 1. Let's see, what do we want? Right, and then that's going to be at the top. We're going to come down here, and at the very end of this, it's going to iterate. So then you're going to go me dot text box 2 dot value is going to be equal to, oops, CCC plus 1. There you go. Oh, hey. Yep, see? All right. So there you go. So right off the bat, this thing is going to grab the text box value that I have input here. So it's going to start at 1, but what if we're starting on segment 4? Or what if we're starting on segment 5? because this is segment 1 right here. This is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. What if we're starting on segment 6, right? So we'll be able to input that as segment 5 or 6 or whatever, but then it will iterate from 5 on. It'll go 5, 6, 7, you know, so that's good. So I think we're good there. So now we need to take what we've loaded, so text box value 1. So let's go ahead and make that a double, because we need to do, it's a value because it has a decimal, we're going to use it as a double. So we're going to use V for value, just use 3 V's, it's great. And then a double is a pound sign, an octothorpe. That's going to equal me dot text box 1 dot value. And so having this is going to set that value. Now that we know V, then, and we know C, then what we're going to do is we need to find the length of the segment that we're on. So what we're going to do now is just go active shape, because what happens is we're going to select that curvy thing, right? We're going to select this shape, and that's going to be the active shape. And then active shape.curve.segment. We got to drill down and get to the segment. So active shape dot curve, because now we're talking about the curve, dot segments, right? And now we're talking about the segments. And now what you do is you do the index, and it's going to be CCC, because that's going to be the segment we want, right? And then it's going to be dot, and look at that, add node at. Then it's going to be offset as double, so you can see where it defaults to 0.5. This is under the hood. We already saw that. This is telling you right now it defaults to half, 50%. But instead, we're going to be putting a me.text.value up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit V, right? And so that's going to put it at the value that we figure out here. Now, is the me.textbox.value what we want? No. We got to figure out the length of that segment. So what we need to do is take the value and divide it. So we can do that. So we don't want VVV. Let's set up a new one where me.textbox, let's see. Let's do PRC for percent, and we're going to make that as a double. Now it's going to be VVV divided by, let's see, we're just going to grab this, copy, and because we're going to get the length of the actual segment we're working with. Before we add a node, we need to know how long it is, right? You should have told me that. How come you didn't tell me that? There you go. So this is how we're going to get our percentage. I don't know why it keeps, I don't want it capitalized. What's wrong with you? Let's just go PRR. There you go. So percentage, actually, you know what? Let's do this. There you go. Percentage of VVV. So V, 3 V's right here is as the text box value of the how far we want the node over. Now what we're going to do is get the percentage of that by taking the text box value and dividing it by the active shape segment length, the actual length of the segment. Then that's how much we're going to move. Now we can say P VVV is exactly where we want our node. Now, I have a feeling we're going to have to define a node, though. I don't think it's just going to allow us to put one. So let's do that. So we're going to hit dim for whatever dim means. Yeah, whatever. 3 N's for node as, let's see, dim as node. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set that as a node. So set NNN equal to active shape, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to yell at you. So now you need to put this in parens. Now that's a subroutine. Okay. So I think we're good. So CCC is going to get the me box text box 1 value. That's going to be the segment number. It's going to feed it down to this right here, and it's going to feed it down to this right here. So we're working with the proper segment. Then it's going to take the text box value of 1, which is the weird number. It's going to divide it by the length and whatever, and then it's going to set that, and theoretically that's where we get a node. Then it's going to go ahead and move the segment number up 1, right? And then it's going to be done. It's going to start all over. Now we got to do error handling. So I'm just going to rob this. So on error, just in case this thing decides we did something wrong. And by we, I mean me, but hey, you're here too. So I'm going to take exit sub. I'm going to take this, copy, and then paste. So this makes it safe so it doesn't crash all the macros every time. So if something goes wrong, it's just going to pop up a little box that says, hey, you did this wrong. Now let's debug, see if we did anything wrong. Compile. Ooh, it compiled. Look at that. Ooh. All right. That's it. So there's one more thing we got to do. We got to make sure that this isn't modal. If you leave it modal, then you can't do anything when this thing is, there's nothing else you can do. So it says down here, show modal down here, right here. If you just double click, it'll switch it to false. That allows it to run while you do other things. So let's hit run. Cancel. Let's hit run again. There you go. There it is. Look at that. Woohoo! So let's see what we got here. So theoretically, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this first, right? So this guy should be 5.1 right here across the X. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to hit X. And look at there. So we've got our number loaded. And then I'm going to grab this shape. And we want segment 1 because here's node 1 and here's node 2. So this is segment 1. And if I hit make node, look at there. That's looking pretty close to that 5 point whatever. Now you can, like everyone's screaming at I can hear you all just screaming at this and go, why don't you just do that? Yeah, I could do that. But however, you're not going to be super accurate as far as how this thing slides down, because if you can see, you're going to have this discrepancy as the curve is, the longer the segment, then the curve is going to be across the straight. Anyway, so let's grab another one here and just see how we do. And again, we're just testing this, but now you can see where segment 2, because this is segment 1, because this is now node 1, this is node 2, segment 1, but you can see where it incremented for us. So now it's going to take the distance of this, and then it's going to make that node. So let's go ahead and do that. Boop, look at that. Nice. Now if we load up another one here, 6.6 whatever, hit this again, moves it over. So let's grab this again, boom, that's our next number, 5.2, and then you can make a node. And then we've got 5.04, make a node, look at that. And then we've got 7, so this should be a little longer. That's looking pretty good. This should be 8. I'm gonna make a node on here, look at that. Make a node. Ooh, look at that. That's weird. 5. Okay. And then we don't need to make a node because that should be segment 10 is here. So, but that should be already, by process of elimination. So that's looking pretty good because, here's this space here and there's this space here. Now let's test. Now here's the deal, because you're dealing with trigonometry and you're dealing with rounding errors and floating, numbers and all that. This is probably not going to be super accurate, but it might be accurate enough. So what we're going to do is let's duplicate this, and we're just going to break it apart. Now again, let me get my Mr. Goodbar, because when you open the IDE, it closes all your stuff. So you got to kind of keep refiring up your macros. So I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit break nodes. So it's going to break this apart. Okay, and now each one of these is going to be a separate entity. And now what I can do is hit my on-screen curves machine, and I'll hit it with 1 inch here, and then show me curve lengths on screen. So let's see how bad we are here. Yeah, it's a little off. So might have to massage that for some reason. I don't know why that's so off. This one's a bit. So again, rounding errors within the thousands or 100 is going to be semi-acceptable. If I can dial it in a little bit, it might be a matter of having to extrapolate. See, like this right here, 6.66. That's, I'm not worried about the 171. We're talking, there's 17 10,000ths of an inch. We're not worried about that. Here you got your 529, and it rounded it up to 3. Again, I think we're going to be well within spec. So here's what we're going to do now. So now what we do is we take a line segment, and we just go like this till we get perpendicular, and there's 1. And then I'm going to find each of these nodes, and there's a line segment. And here's another node, and I'm going to hit the line segment. And I'm going to go along, and I'm going to find a node and hit a line segment and hit a node, line segment. But I'm making sure that I'm perpendicular, see? That way I'm radiating out from one node. That's going to follow. You can see where it's following the radiating pattern, So now I can take my dog bone, and then what I'm going to do is grab another macro here. So this guy is really handy. This guy here will put, so remember what I said about segments being from 0 to 1. So I have this already set on a segment at half a percent. So, or I mean, 50%, half a segment. And so I can do up to 4 shapes, and it will drop a shape onto a segment at a certain point. So I can put, 9.8 for 98%. It'll put it right up next to the end or whatever. So I can deselect these guys, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the middle. And what it's going to do is it's going to drop this shape onto this segment in the center, and I'm going to match the angle. So I'm not sure if I need to have this 90 or 100, but let me see. So right now we are at, let's set it to 0. And so this is the OG copy this shape. So now it's green. And then I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to select the segment. Oh, yeah, we don't want it that way. So I need to change this. So what I do is I duplicate it, and I turn it 90, and then I weld it. And then that changes the orientation to 0. So let's try that again. Clear. Match angle. So copy shape. And then this is my segment. So I grab my node selector. I select the nodes segment. There it is. So I go like this. There it is. Go like this. There it is. Go like this. There it is. Come on now. There you go. Now, I know also I hear you people screaming, you could do all this automated as far as write the code to go through each shape and just make it do it automatically. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm doing it, one at a time. So basically I want a bolt action rifle. I don't want fully automatic, because when you're dealing with these kinds of things, even though we're dealing with this as like left to right, each of these is left to right, but Corel might see this box as number 1, and Corel might see this one as number 2, and they might see this as 3, and this is number 4. And so what it'll do is put these nodes in wrong order. Now, that means you have to write code to make sure that if it's to the left, it puts it as 1 and it orders it properly. I have code for that. But again, you have to add that code in, and then you have to, but that would be how you would do this automatically, where you could just be like, take these, put it onto this, and then snap a button and make it happen. But I like the control of a bolt action, one shot at a time, make sure we're doing this right. So now, just to make sure, but now you can see that is what we needed. We needed these to be on the curve. Now what we do is take this and extrapolate it onto the raceway by locking it into where it is. Let's group it. and we drop it like that. And now you can see where each of these dog bones is within its angle that it needs to be, and it's going to radiate out. And that's going to allow each of these J's, these homies right here, are going to be able to jut out, and they're going to hit that backer at that precise spot. So that's where the guys will weld that curved backer all along there. And you can see where they're radiating out perfectly, because now we have perpendicular, line segments. So this proof of concept, I'm going to massage this a little bit. What I might do is get rid of the 5-digit and maybe go ahead and switch this out to allow it to be the full 12. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and do that here. This is size height. Let's do size width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this just to increase accuracy. And the size width now will be the full 12 decimal place number. And then because we're already working with this segment, because this length is also a 12. Oh yeah, I gotta get rid of format number. We don't want that. There you go. So since this is this length number here is a 12-digit number, decimal, now I'm going to have this as a decimal. That will probably help a little bit with the rounding error that we saw on that, as far as making sure, because this is like 5.14 is a little different than 5.15. So I got to figure that out. But it's still, I bake in a lot of room. Like this right here has 3,000s. Or 300s, like, so basically like a business card is 0.015 inches thick. I have about 2 business cards worth of play anyway when I bake these things in. So we're well within, target here. So just for fun though, let's grab this and we'll see how this, I'm going to group it and we'll see kind of how this lines up. So we'll take it like this and we'll kind of turn it and we'll make sure it's not too crazy. Now, again, this is on a curve and this isn't. So, but it's, looking like this is kind of where it wants to be. Let's see. Let me turn snap to off. Sometimes that's annoying. There you go. Yep. So as this is put in the roller and bent, these are going to line up just right. You can see where it's just going to slot right in and we're going to be sexy. So now that I have that, that's going to help me extrapolate all these out. And then each of these is going to be a cabinet. So this is going to be a formed welded cabinet and each little letter. And then install is just going to go over there and they're just going to, nail this to the backside of this steel. And then off we go, wire it up. So anyway, so I just thought I'd show you that's how you're going to build if you're going to do a macro like that, but just show you real time. That's what it takes. This is going to be a very handy macro for the future. I know I'm going to be using this probably quite a bit because like I said, I've always wanted to be able to put a node exactly where I need to rather than sitting there and kind of trying to right click exactly where you think you want it. Instead, this is all math and it's all good. So nothing wrong with math. All right then. So if that's it, if you have any questions, hit me up.
Check the technique. Check the technique.